Hello, this is our project on the Reconstruction in the Southern United States. Please enjoy. What is Reconstruction in the Southern United States? The Reconstruction era in the Southern United States began after the Civil War in 1865 and lasted until 1877. The Union victory changed things so drastically the U.S. was practically in ruins. This was a period in time when the relationship between states were deteriorating. It was obvious something needed to be done. So that's when the people of the South decided to take action and begin to put their country back together again, after a diverse and bloody war. So let's start from the very beginning. The Reconstruction in the South began in 1865, following the end of the Civil War. Following the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, his successor Andrew Johnson was put in office. Under Johnson, the South was given power to rule themselves. They passed black codes that would restrict former slaves and keep them in check. This caused outrage between North and blacks. The distress led to a rift in Congress and planted a seed that would grow into the radical Republicans. Also, many Southerners were given back lands lost to the Union. These lands included property given to former slaves. Johnson's leniency led to the repressive behavior the South would enact on free African Americans. Presidential Reconstruction. After the war, President Lincoln faced a dilemma, and that was reuniting the South. Abraham Lincoln constructed a plan, and the plan called for 10% of the Southern states' male voters to take a loyalty oath, and that those Southern states had to acknowledge the permanent freedom of slaves. The Republicans in Congress thought it was too mild, so they changed 10% to 50%, but Lincoln vetoed. Abraham Lincoln did not get too far with his 10% plan because of assassination. After Lincoln's assassination, Andrew Johnson became president. Johnson's approach to reuniting the South was very different. First, he offered a pardon to all the Southern whites except Confederate leaders and wealthy Southern farmers. His pardon also restored their property with the exception of slaves. Radical Reconstruction. The Radical Republicans were a group of Congress members that wanted to punish the South for secession from the Union. They also believed that blacks were entitled to the same political rights as whites. They proposed the Wade-Davis Act, which was the same plan as Lincoln, just with a 40% increase in loyalty. While Andrew Johnson was president, they proposed the Freedmen's Bureau's Bill. The bill would build from Lincoln's act and continue to help blacks. Freedmen's Bureau bill was vetoed by Andrew Johnson. It was overturned in Congress. Then they passed the 14th Amendment, which granted citizenship to all freed slaves, everyone born in the United States, or anybody who was naturalized. In 1867, the Reconstruction Acts were passed. The acts divided the South into 5 military districts and outlined new states. By 1870, all former Confederate states were readmitted to the Union. Most of them were made up of 3 groups: Republicans, carpetbaggers, and scalawags. The carpetbaggers were Northerners who were recent Union soldiers, teachers, businessmen, and Freedmen's Bureau's agents. Scalawags were native-born whites that supported the Union during the Civil War. During this time, the South established schools and reconstruction of new railroads. The liberties that were granted to blacks sparked outrage in some white communities through anger. The Ku Klux Klan was created. After Andrew Johnson was impeached because of the Tenure of Office Act, Congress passed the 15th Amendment. The 15th Amendment guaranteed the right to vote to any male citizen no matter what skin color they were. The Radical Reconstruction ended in 1877, having only Southern states with Republicans being the majority. Reconstruction Acts. In the beginning of 1867, Congress passed a series of laws called the Reconstruction Acts, which overrode the presidential veto of President Johnson. It laid out the entire process of readmitting the 11 southern states: South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Louisiana, Virginia, Arkansas, and North Carolina. 5 military districts were formed in the southern states that seceded from the Union. Each area was commanded by a main general and helped enforce the Reconstruction Acts. During this time, each state in the South that were in military districts were required to draft a new constitution, which Congress had to say yes to. The requirement of the new state constitution was that black men had to be given the right to vote. Then the states would have to ratify the 14th Amendment. Because Congress was mostly controlled by Republicans, Congress was able to easily overpass President Johnson's veto over the Reconstruction Acts. Well, finally, the Reconstruction Acts led to the impeachment of President Johnson. New state programs and policies. As the Reconstruction era progressed, many state programs and policies were established to ensure equality in the South. One of the biggest achievements was establishing the first public, tax-supported school system in the southern United States. From then on, many more schools were made so people started to attend. However, whites still refused to attend. As a result, segregation between schools for blacks and schools for whites occurred. So not only did the state governments establish schools eligible for the South, but they also made a great attempt at fighting the South's poor economy by offering aid to railroads and other industries. This actually made Southerners happy. Now, one of the most important policies established during the Reconstruction in the South was the blacks were given the right to vote. They were also able to hold political office. For that, the Reconstruction had many steps to ensure peace and equality in the nation. End of Reconstruction in the South. As the 1870s came, the power of the radical Republicans deteriorated, and so did the efforts of the Reconstruction. Reconstruction was soon viewed as corrupt and intolerable. A swift number of Supreme Court cases, starting with the slaughter cases, suppressed what Reconstruction could do. By the time 1867 rolled by, South Carolina, Florida, and Louisiana remained under the Republicans. Presidential candidate by the name of Rutherford B. Hayes negotiated that he would give Democratic control to remaining southern states in exchange for the South's vote. The South accepted, and as soon as he was elected, the remaining troops in the southern states withdrew and the Reconstruction era came to a close. Effects of Reconstruction to the United States. Last but not least, the Reconstruction of the South had definitely affected the nation. Despite having a few positive outcomes, the Reconstruction has been considered a failure in most history books. The whole point of Reconstruction was to economically help the South get back on their feet and help better the lives of African American people. Politically, the government did convince the southern states to rejoin the Union. They also managed to pass the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, which ensured equality for emancipated slaves. They were able to establish policies that were never present before, which ended up backfiring tremendously because the new amendments only angered the majority of white Southerners. But we have to admit, the Reconstruction did help us push forward and advocate the human rights in the future. For example, a century later, the Civil Rights Movement occurred, and it probably wouldn't have happened without the Reconstruction. And this concludes our project. We hope you enjoyed. Thank you.